Consider the statements. Ah.
Do we need to wait on anybody else to get here? To
No, our whole council's here, so we
Okay,
can go ahead
awesome.
and get started.
Great. Well, good evening. It's January 12th, 2026, 6:30 PM. Welcome everyone to the Swisher Council meeting. We'll start out with calling the meeting to order and doing a roll call. Pujol?
Here.
Enoch?
Here.
Stagg?
Here.
Klein?
Here.
And Werner?
Here.
Excellent. Hello. All right, we will move on to approval of the agenda for tonight. Do we have a motion for that?
Motion to approve the agenda. Second.
All right, do a roll call. Enoch?
Here.
Aye.
Aye.
Pujol? Ornament?
Aye.
Klein?
Aye.
And Stagg.
Aye.
All right, agenda is approved. So we will move on to the consent agenda and approval for that. Do we have any questions, anything on that before we move to motion to approve?
LRS tried billing again or what? Communication?
Yeah, LRS has been sending us bills, so I just put that in there, so that way, if I don't hear back from them, it'll be on the next agenda.
So they just keep sending, you keep responding, we
It's
can't.
like up to $30,000 or $30,000 from the last two, yeah.
So is it just invoices?
Yeah, we canceled their services back
Right.
July 31st, and they just keep sending bills, and there's no way to contact them, so I've mailed and emailed back twice, and they just keep coming, so
Have they responded to any of your emails?
nothing.
And there's no like, is it are they like a national group or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it'll probably be on the next agenda to ask to get the lawyer.
The Norway meeting was partly about that.
Was it really?
Do you even have to ask council approval for something like that?
We do to get the lawyer involved.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, previously it took 7 times of him getting a hold of somebody. The 7th time was when he actually talked to somebody and said, "This is your last shot." And he showed up 2 days later to start picking stuff up.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got one question.
sure,
On the bank, REC,
yes.
what is cold-blooded redhead LLC?
It's a library program.
Okay,
It's the reptile program.
okay, because I'd never heard that before.
Yeah.
She lives across the street from.
Yeah, she lives across the street from me, but she does the reptile program at the library, once a year. So that was her fee for that.
Okay.
One last question on this LRS thing, like, what's the next step for, like, we got a couple dumpsters that are still LRS, there's one sitting up at the park. I mean, obviously, they're not coming to pick them up, but I mean, we don't want them sitting around here either, though.
There's still some down by the.
Yeah,
Couple.
there's one left at a fourplex too, but they're our property at this point,
So
so,
we can just get rid of them, we can have Justin pick them up and take them to the dump or whatever the.
Yeah.
Cause what's gonna happen is people's gonna keep throwing the ones up at the park, and then we're gonna have a full
mhm.
dumpster full of. Yeah.
Any other questions before we motion on the consent agenda? Okay, do we have a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
Motion, we approve consent
All right, roll call, Klein,
Aye.
Ornament,
Aye.
Stagg,
Aye.
Enoch,
Aye.
and Pujol. We will move on to public commentary. Looks like we've got, Nick and Rebecca or Dancemore on. Any commentary from y'all or any commentary? Yes, you guys are kind of public.
No comment at this point. Just kind of listening in here at this point. Thanks for asking though.
You bet. Thank you. All right. On to the report, line item of the agenda. So I know we've got a big cachet of reports, in the packets. Do we have we've got some reports ready from you guys. Any questions on the reports that were sent out, ahead of schedule, in the packet? Before we move on to commentary from our friends here in the chambers.
This, can I talk about that or not?
Um,
I just have a question,
yes,
explanation. The economic development revolving loan total, what is that? I see there's no activity on it. What is that? Why is that called a loan?
that is the fund that needed the full board to be able to use those funds. So we just talked about that last
Yeah, I know
week,
we did.
but then he got a statement today, right? Was that today or over the?
Oh, that's what that, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
so
right. Yep.
he got a statement from them, so now we know what that is.
Okay, all right.
So it has a board and people from the town can submit recommendations to that board to see if they want to use those funds for items around town.
Where did that money come from that's in that
It
fund?
came from the Johnson County Foundation. I can pull the thing up.
My question, why is it called a loan? Is it lend out or is it?
It's not our money. It's almost like, I would say it's more like a grant or a fund that we have access to. But it sat stagnant for a long time because we didn't have a board.
Is it a loan that they have to be paid back?
No. I don't know why it's coded like that.
That's why, if it's a loan, normally it's something have to be paid back. I was just wondering.
No, and I can find out more information about that
Okay.
before the budget meeting tomorrow and we can talk about it, but, yeah, I don't know why it says loan, because I feel like it's more of a revolving fund that you put money into and you can also, we got that money, we didn't pay anything, obviously, to get that money. It was given to us, but we couldn't use it without a full board.
Okay.
Yeah, we can have that as a takeaway and then. So you're talking about the economic
Yeah.
development revolving loan, okay. Cool. Any other, questions, comments on the reports from city staff or anything in the packet? Okay. Did we want to get any feedback reports from those that are here today? Apologize, Dave.
No,
I know who you're with on a chat. Okay, sorry. Yeah, anything you have to share with us from a?
I don't, I mean,
perspective? saw
not
your
much
email.
more, so, I mean, we pulled the lights, we're waiting until spring for the sludge, unfortunately. The new dryer was installed, and, you know, you're obviously new, but everyone else,
Yeah.
I'm a broken record in terms of our chloride was a little high, and we don't control that. And
What
so
is
I don't-
that? Like, what's
So chloride is, one of the things we have to test for our wastewater effluent. So basically our treated wastewater before it goes out to the creek. Chloride has been a major focus of the state of Iowa. We have certain limits we have to meet for that. Usually we sneak in just under. The limit's 386. Most of the time, we're like 340, 330. But we've had periods of time over the years where we creep up above that. In the last couple of months, we've been a little high.
And it's usually a little high in the winter times, right?
Can usually it's because the winter can be a little more dry, but also you run into you can run into salt and stuff like that as well that can trigger it.
Right.
So, that's kind of where we're at. It's kind of one of those unfortunate things.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked in the past with stuff, but the only way you solve that's on the drinking water side. You can't solve it on the wastewater because it's an inorganic dissolved solid, so there's just nothing we can do about it. The bugs don't eat it. So it's all comes from softeners is what it all boils down to, so. Anyway, occasionally we're high on it. I always like to make sure I know when we are, cause at some point, you guys don't have as much compliance issues as say Walford, but at some point, that's something that the DNR could eventually kind of hit us on a little bit, so.
What's that time frame look like, but from what you've seen, like?
It
if
It depends on your level of compliance.
Okay.
You guys are in compliance, I would say 4/5 of the time, a little
Okay.
more than 3/4 probably. So you guys probably got a longer rope, but like say Walford, they're 50/50. So they've already been hit with, you gotta start making a plan.
Okay.
You guys haven't had anything like that yet, so we're gonna keep our fingers crossed. We just have a couple months from time to time where we peek over and they kind of leave us alone, so.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay.
This is what you're talking about, the new development. Could be an issue because, with this, right?
That was the concern. The concern is if they put a softening system in there, they're gonna send all that to us. So the concern is since we're already borderline and barely making it most of the time, that's a concern that they could send us something more coming from there. So I haven't seen anything else kind of submitted at this point or really pushed. I know that HR Green, the city's engineers have already been working on an agreement and stuff like that. So, you know, that'll all be when that starts coming into play and they want to start honing in on what their plans are for treatment. Then the city starts getting involved and saying, we'll accept this, we won't accept this, we'll do whatever. So the city ultimately does have, you know, you kind of hold the cards in terms of what you guys would allow.
So far, we haven't seen anything on that.
Yeah, nothing in, they brought me in on that. So I should be able, just like, you know, when that stuff started coming up, I was able to bring it to the city. Should be the same thing here. Once I start hearing things, because they kind of consulted with me and kind of brought me in to help with all that stuff. So as soon as I know something, the city will know something and hopefully I can kind of, you know, keep everyone in the loop on what's going on here. So.
What, like, say is the options for a town like Auburn? If they're at that 50-50%.
So
What can they do to mitigate?
So what's happening in Walford is we're first, and I think we all know that this won't work, but we're doing a public education campaign. Hey, we'd sure like it if everyone would look at their softeners and maybe try to make sure they're dialed in appropriately and make sure they're not regenerating more than they should. I think we all know out of everyone in town, you get 3 people that'll go like, hey, let me do that, and everyone else won't care. But it does, I mean, frankly, the ultimate thing that happens to them is you're out of compliance and on this date, you'll start receiving massive fines. And so at that point it becomes, well, do you pay the massive fines or do you build a municipal water system or something like that? And so that's, I mean, the ultimate answer is you would need to do that. I mean, I don't think you guys are anywhere near anything like that at this point, but like Walford, that's kind of, they're in the earliest stages of, is that the ultimate end goal? Do we need to build a municipal water system? So I know that's already been a pretty controversial thing here, so hopefully we don't get to that.
Okay, that's kind of what I wanted to know is what actual needs to be done in order to mitigate the problem.
Yeah, but I think I have mentioned.
Instead of paying the hefty fines.
Right, and I think I have mentioned before though too, is, I know that some of the little well systems here in town, you know, that are little small public water supplies. There have been some issues with high PFAS numbers coming back from some of those.
Yes.
So the problem starts becoming, once that becomes a true enforceable limit from the state of Iowa, is that little place that has 15 houses on it, are they gonna spend the $1 million it's gonna take? Maybe for a small one, it'll be $1 million. It'll be hundreds of thousands of dollars even to treat it, to remove the PFAS, or is it start becoming, well, since this has a problem, that one has a problem, this has a problem, and by the time a third of the town has a problem,
Starts aggregating.
does the city start then like pushing possibly for municipal system again? So those are all things for down the road, but those are the.
We're way from that.
Way away from that, but those are things that, I mean, there, as soon as the PFAS thing comes into place, frankly, that is something that might come up sooner rather than later in terms of, you know, the city wanting to look at all that again, because you won't have any of those small systems that are gonna be able to afford to do the type of treatment necessary to small, so.
Okay.
Any questions for me?
Thanks, Chad.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
No, much appreciated. And you were, sorry, you report that is it once a month on the chlorides?
We do, yeah, we're required to do once a month.
Okay.
We did do a stretch, the old mayor at one point, well, a couple mayors ago, wanted us to do that more often, so we went through a period where we did it weekly. It didn't really change anything, frankly.
No
You
pattern.
kind of, well, the problem is you go through a period of kind of going up and it gradually goes back down. If we did it every week, like last month, all we would have done was hit a bell. We wouldn't have done enough to bring that back. And it's not like it jumps to 420 1 week and 250 the next. It'll be 420, then 400, then 380, then 360, and it'll do that and go and cut. So it didn't really help us. You guys are just paying for the extra test every week and we're not required to do it by the permit. So we kind of just went back to doing it once a month. But obviously, any point anyone wants to do it different, we'll gladly do whatever we want. So
Once a year.
I'm gonna know this,
You know,
keep it at one, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
once a month. So yeah, that's what the perm requires. That's what we're doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Chad. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jack.
All right. I think that covers us on reports.
Brad's gonna talk.
I
Well,
can say everything.
sure.
on the agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. He's on the agenda.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll move on. So we're good. We will move on to the, formal agenda. Sheriff Conkle's with us. Looks like we've got, some discussion on the contract. And shared out a nice report with us. Thank you for that. Yeah, we'll let you have the floor.
Well, first of all, I have never been the only one over here. Like I said, every time I'm up here, it's much more intimate because there's always other people.
Sure.
This is really
It's a
strange.
very light
There we
agenda
go.
tonight.
Yeah, it is pretty.
And first of all, I guess, welcome. Who's new? Remind me.
I'm new to the mayor
New to the
and
mayor.
Brian's new to the council.
So, well, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome
Very
to
nice to meet you guys.
city government. I dipped my toe into elected office as a council member in Solon years ago. Spent 6 years on the council. I loved it. It truly is where you can actually see like the results of your effort. Yeah, you'll enjoy it. I hope so. I sure did. So yeah, congratulations. And welcome to
Appreciate that.
public
Thank you.
service. So I guess for the new folks in the room, I'll give the rest of you a quick refresher on just why we have this relationship. So, under Iowa law, incorporated cities have to provide law enforcement services to the residents. The question the city has to answer is how do you deliver? You either have to have your own police department or you contract with somebody else to do it. Most, if not about every city in the state that does not have their own city police and is incorporated, contracts with the sheriff in their county. The Supreme Court has even had to weigh in on this back in, I want to say the 90s. There was a city in Jasper County that the mayors basically thought, well, no, I don't want to do that. The sheriff will do it for nothing. Sheriff said that's ridiculous. The county attorney sued. State weighed in and said, well, no, you have to have some sort of agreement because if you follow that logic, well, then what's to stop the sheriff from saying, you know what? Well, we're not going to do it. State patrol is going to do it.
Mhm.
So it is a service you have to provide. And the question is, yeah, who do you do it with? And then the cost in that relationship is just, that's what politics are for. And so it's worked out. These contracts in with the towns have been in place long before I was with the sheriff's office. When I came into office, I had kind of adopted and inherited the old method of basically it was a year-to-year agreement. And the previous sheriff, either every other year, the rate would go up about $2 an hour, or if it wasn't a raise increase, then it would be talking about, do we need to increase the hours? I kept that in place until last year, when really looking for the future and trying to write some, not only continuity for both of us, but that way you could budget better. I want to have a longer term contract with increases in there that you could budget for, but also try and work towards closing the gap on the difference between what the city pays versus the real cost of the service. Historically, that rate the city paid wound up being about 85%-ish of salary and benefits for a deputy sheriff at our 7-year pay scale. And we use a 7-year because that's about the average length of service the deputies have that are out on patrol. And I have deputies that are everywhere from 2 years of service or maybe less to over north of 20. Close it out, we use that 7 years. So that's why what happened was over time with like collective bargaining increases, insurance, even though that you guys were paying this, the gap was widening. So to try and close the gap is why we started moving to these increases we have built in. So $4 an hour per year for the life of this contract. That's really not gonna close the gap. I think it's gonna maintain, it might a little, but what we're seeing between collective bargaining increases of maybe, I want to say we average this on about 3 1/4 is what we typically see. But I think the contract right now is 4%. Plus, if anybody having to pay insurance or responsible for insurance, that's going up too.
Mhm.
So this is getting us in that direction, but we'll never be at 100%. And what isn't reflected in what you pay is the cost of everything else associated with it, like car, equipment, training, everything else that we do. We absorb that in the county. Then the hours, is just something we have worked out, and it's a decision we make based on a recommendation from from the sheriff's office, but also working into the math and what you can afford. You guys have been at 28 hours a week since FY 1920. So for quite a long time, it's about 3.8 hours a day. And one of the things we talked about last year was, I did think it was time to start to looking at this year to increasing a little, simply because we start to see the need for law enforcement services, and you really do too. Before the homes are built is when we start to see the impact on growth. Things like everything from increased truck traffic to from the development itself to, anytime you're turning dirt, you now have construction trailers sitting there that are targets, or you can't leave copper sitting out or anything like that. So your development starts to increase that demand, and I would highly always recommend having those services in place when the lights come on, because the last thing you want to do is have people in council upset about law enforcement coverage when you haven't been increasing accordingly. So that's why this has, going to this fiscal year, bumping it up from 28 hours a week to 30, just a small increase, but to try and stay ahead of the growth that you're seeing. And then the contract itself, the other difference is the one we're in now, the actual 2080 agreement. Prior to that, it's long been MOU, but really, this is the way it should be, as a 2080 agreement. And then with the supervisors, when they approved these, they allowed me to be the signatory. So the agreement is between the county, but my name's on the contract. You, as well as the other actually 7 total contract towns that we have: Solon, Swisher, Shueyville, Hills, Tiffin, Oxford, and Lone Tree, all in 5-year agreements. Tiffin entered into theirs a year earlier. The remaining are all in the same cycle as you all. And then the supervisors approved this last year meeting at a vote of 4-1. And so here we are in second year of this.
Yep.
Any questions so far about this?
This Tiffin doesn't have their own police department yet?
No, so
Because I was thinking at one time they were talking about that, but must not have ever.
no, so what they agreed to do was do that 24-hour service with my office. So the agreement we have with them is a little different in the sense that over the first 3 years of our contract with them, we're adding 2 deputies a year. So we're adding 2 more this July for a total of 6. So we've built a division of the sheriff's office
It's
dedicated to Tiffin.
Yeah.
Yep, so I have a sergeant and 3 other deputies assigned out there right now. We're adding 2 more. So that will give us not only 24/7 coverage, but basically a command structure out there too. So, separate division of the sheriff's office.
Right.
The other big difference is the rate they're paying. So whereas you guys, again, are paying just for salary and benefits, since they are taking, dedicated FTEs out there, they're also covering car, training, depreciation, everything else.
Yeah,
What's that?
with their growth, they need that.
Well, that's exactly right. And we were at a point where with Tiffin, it took us about 2 years to negotiate this, but I told them, you need to make a decision. Are you going to have your own police or stay with the sheriff's office? I'm fine either way. I stick with us. I just need them to make a decision so I can plan for the future, and so can they. So for some context, I think next year your total cost will be 95,000 and some change. Next year, July 1 for Tiffin, now that they will have 6 assigned out there, their cost is about $987,000. That will still always be way cheaper for them than actually having their own police department, and then everything else that goes with not only the full cost, but it's another department, it's the insurance, it's the hiring, it's the administrative, all the other things that go along with another department of the umbrella of the city.
Right.
Any questions so far?
So, the rate you were saying was based off of a 7-year level, okay. And then for the hours per week, we've got it bumped up, that totally makes sense. Is that, and we've got it listed at 30 hours per week persistently, right? Sustaining, is that do you foresee any other needs with the development coming in and kind of the timing there? Or how do
So
we address
the way this is crafted, if you drop down to section 6, the modification part. So the agreement says that any reduction in services, rates, or other than termination shall be made through written agreement.
Yep.
It says increases in the scope or rates shall be made through a written amendment with mutual agreement for
Got
both. increases in hours can be requested by you and agreed upon by me. So that's intentional. That way the cost is set. But if we do need to adjust the hourly life of the contract, we can do that through whether you do it just through a motion and a second and you vote, or if you do a resolution. It's kind of whatever the formality you guys want to do, but we can adjust that in the life of the contract. So that was intentional.
Okay.
So if we needed to bump it up, we could.
Makes sense. And this agreement was signed and put into effect last year, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So,
24. It was 24.
yeah, October of 24.
So,
2 years.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, and we're
Fiscal year 25.
Commencing,
25.
yeah,
Yep.
July 1st, 2024.
And then I think the reason this is even throwing me off in my head is normally I try and make the contract visits in the fall. I'm late this year, but it made more sense to come after new council members and
Yeah.
new seats. I'm seeing that in a lot of the town. There's been a lot of turnover. So I'm hitting it once everybody's seated after January 1st.
Sure.
But
Brett, how does that work? This is just a question, like say we contract you guys for 30 hours a week. How is it, do we have any say on what hours you guys are patrolling? Or is that
No,
all, is that
I mean,
all
we
by
could-
Johnson County? Is that all by?
I mean, yes and no. So let's say, I don't know, if every morning at 8 o'clock, you're having trucks are blowing the stop sign at the post office, like, we can target that for extra enforcement. Problem you gotta be careful with is people learn those patterns and behaviors pretty quick.
Right.
And so if the bad guys also see that, okay, every day they're up there at 10 o'clock, then, and we leave at 11, like, that's when stuff happens too. So we intentionally it's just spread out throughout the day, either at the discretion of the deputy assigned to the area or when we have a call. But again, if there's things that need addressed at a certain time, we can.
Yeah, I just didn't know if like say like all the other towns around here and everything, you know, obviously we're just like any other small town. Our Fridays and Saturday nights are busier than, I didn't know if there was a way you guys could, we could say, hey, we'd like 15 of our hours on.
Yeah.
On these particular days or not. I mean, if we're not, that's fine and everything.
Yeah, I
It'd
don't,
probably be really hard for you guys to do with having so many different locations.
well, it would, and if, you know, a day or two earlier, let's say we have some sort of a call over on Orchard Street and I have 3 deputies there for 3 hours. Well, that's 9 hours of time.
Right.
So then we're ahead. And so then as we run our time reports, the deputy will, hey, we are way ahead. We're gonna back off and adjust that time.
Right.
Cause the thing it is, and you guys know this that have been here, you always get way more time than you pay for. And we don't charge for that. I mean, we just absorb it. We have to be careful balancing that time
Yeah.
and trying to make it, you know, fair and spread out over the course of the day.
Okay.
What if we had like a certain set, like a consistent scheduled event, right? Where we're like, hey, we would like more presence in town at a certain time versus like middle of the day. So could like, how would we administer that, or how could we like work together in that regard?
We would probably need to amend this somehow. That's tricky since it's a 2080. That's quite the process.
Okay.
But then the thing of it is, like, you wouldn't, if you said, okay, if it's Friday and, you know, we contract for, call it 4 hours a day, but we want 3 hours of those Friday night, well, then in theory, you're gonna get 1 hour of coverage during that whole entire day. And is that a good decision too? If there are those things coming up that we need to be aware of, we want us around for, like, we can still make sure we have somebody here. I would just be cautious about having instead having schedule. Yeah.
So the way we did the dance floor stuff on Wednesday nights,
Extra patrol.
this is extras. That worked out with no issues on your end.
On our end.
Yeah, cause it was
Yeah.
reserves.
Yeah.
I would think like any other events or something like what you're talking about. That's another option too, where we could have other time spent with
Yeah.
the police coming in. You know,
Yeah.
contract out for.
Yeah, I mean, we could always try a separate like MOU or something for those agreements. And again, we do those reserves all the time and bill for it. Solon's the only one that does it a little different, is because Beef Days is, I mean, it's basically a 2-day long thing. And we charge them an extra set chunk of hours, so we have people dedicated to it. We don't for Lone Tree, for example, like for Fall Fest, it's a much lower fee. We just assign people, we don't send an extra charge, so there's things we can work with too, if it's like for.
And you guys know when there's gonna be, if there's a big thing going on, you guys know that you guys might have cops called over, police, you know what I mean, so you're on.
Yeah,
You guys are in the loop.
nothing new for us.
Right.
We staff accordingly.
Right.
And, Brian brings up a good point. So as we think about being, good stewards of, number one, public safety, right? And then being good stewards of our events and businesses that bring people into town, thinking about the cost effectively with the dance more, like with, right, Wednesdays, Thursdays, how do we, I guess that's kind of what we're poking at, right? Is like, how do we think about staffing that without reserves, or kind of like, are there options for us, you know what I mean, cost effectively to address that so that we're working well together as a town and as the business owners and stuff on behalf of the business owners.
I guess at the end of the day, the question is like, what do you want?
Yeah.
Like, and how would you measure if that's successful on your end, on Wednesdays and Thursdays?
Sure.
I mean, I can tell you how, when I first started my career at the sheriff's office, I was a reserve, and back when Craig had dance more. And the way we did it back then was the city required 2 reserves up there Friday and Saturday nights, and Craig paid cash at the end of the night, which was great at the time, because he was like 20 years old and it's easy money. But he paid, I don't think he ever liked it, but that was the system that was set up back then. So we tried different things over the years.
That's how our city ordinance is written anyway.
And
We already went through all this.
We have a motion, I think, right, was it March to revisit that?
March is to revisit the use of reserves.
Right, okay. So we're kind of trying to get ahead of that, right, and think through like what options are on the table and,
I mean, and I know it's a struggle because, you wanna do the best you can to work with your business owners and 100% feel like they're getting a fair shake, but also you have to answer for and manage the complaints from the public about noise and traffic and everything else that goes with it. And I mean, we're here to, work with you folks and do what you think is best for your town. I don't know what the answer really is. I mean, on the one hand, I think what we're doing, you're getting extra coverage and it's cheaper than paying some deputies overtime. So that works on the one hand.
so under our current agreement, if we had like call it specific, but yeah, if we had certain targeted times, there would need to be some sort of a adjustment or amendment.
Let me think about it. I think if you were to say we want 4 extra hours on Monday, like Wednesday and Thursday. I mean, suppose we'd be charging you the rate in here, so it's gonna be more than the reserve rate. Reserve rate's $40 an hour and 45. So you're gonna be paying just the standard rate in the contract, which is 57 this year.
Well, and I guess so I'm clear, ideally, we would like to include that, right? Like as part of our overall service under the standard agreement, right? Am I explaining that correctly?
No.
No?
I think when we bring this up for discussion in March, that would be a time to talk about that possibly. So maybe that's a situation where if you have time to be able to come back to our meeting when we have that on the agenda, and we can discuss it further.
Yep.
But at this time, I think what we talked about before is as far as getting reserves. That's
right.
more, I think, in the foremind of what we would probably keep doing.
Sure.
I was gonna say, I think we've talked about this in the past, and it doesn't mathematically work out. And even on your end, it doesn't work out for you to say, yes, I have two,
Right.
like,
Dedicated.
nobody wants to say, it, but it's Wednesday nights that everybody's talking about. And it's 4 hours that they want to commit of our weekly total to it. It doesn't work out on your end.
That's not a good idea at all.
Yeah,
No.
no,
Gotcha.
because then you're gonna be reducing coverage throughout the week.
Or it's not during the day.
Yeah. So,
Right.
that's why
And-
when we
and I-
approached them about it 2 years ago, it was the best option was the reserves.
Yeah,
That's right.
and I don't think that has changed, to be honest.
Right.
That's-
It will be cheaper. I mean, and I know,
What's changed is who's paying for it.
But there's, yeah,
and that's on you guys. That's what you got to figure out is also who's gonna pay for it. You know, but it is cheaper to go with the reserves. And like I said, if we go under the lens of this, it's just gonna be the rate that's in here.
Okay.
Brad, in our ordinance, I think it's worded that, I think we have like a certain section in there and it's decided by the sheriff's department if extra patrol is needed. Would you guys still like give your honest opinion if you think extra patrol is needed on those nights, or that night by seeing what you?
I'll always give you an honest opinion.
Right, I'm just saying, but what it comes down to is that in our ordinance, right now, it says, I don't know the exact wording, but I think it's like, if the Johnson County Sheriff's Department deems that there is needed extra patrol, it is to be paid for by the establishment or whatever. So I'm just saying, we need to know that going forward, because by our ordinance right now, it's not to be paid for by the city like what we have been doing.
So there's two different problems or questions there. Like, would I give you an opinion? Sure, I'll tell you what I think. The problem you're into is I don't know if that's right to say if you can tack that on to the business.
But it's right in our ordinance.
I get it's in your ordinance. I think your city attorney needs to review it.
yeah.
That idea.
But you said in the past, that's how it was done.
That was 28 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if it was right. That's the way it was done. And again, he was also paying his cash. So I don't know. I mean, we're talking 1999, 2000 when that was going on. I would just strongly recommend you talk to your city attorney about that piece of it. Is if you're assessing it to the owner, or is it your responsibility to pay for it?
So that would be something to note.
But it's your call.
Discussing this.
By our ordinance, it's the sheriff's department.
Right, I mean, I would say that's the same thing, the same decision or opinion would come in city of Cedar Rapids. The city would defer to the police department. So what do you think? Do you think we need to have extra patrol on
Yep.
Friday nights around Pickle Palace?
Right.
Yeah, they might say, yep, sure thing.
What it says in our ordinance, one part of it says, what you're referring to or talking about, at the county sheriff's department discretion, the sheriff may require an additional security officer to ride in the patrol car with the department during the hour the dance is being held. This security officer shall be at the expense of the applicant, which is the owner of the dance hall. And that's what you're talking about.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's what we
That's
found
my
out.
question.
Yep.
Your decision, just whether you think it's the point where we need additional coverage.
Right. Cause I think how it all got brought up before, I think we came to you guys before that we go, I don't think, you guys never came to us and said,
Yeah.
hey, you guys need to have extra patrol. I mean, I think it was the city council.
We approached them.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, people complain about things in the moment, like they'll call for traffic issues or whatever, but a lot of times these issues that come to your attention aren't through us, it's through those Monday morning phone calls you get, or
Right.
running into somebody downtown.
Right.
And sometimes those don't come in through the jack or we get made aware of. Those are just the things that come to your attention through
Right.
living in your community.
Yeah, it could be just anybody speeding on Swisher View Drive and saying you guys need to patrol it better, or
Sure,
something.
or
Something like
or you
that.
get a
It wouldn't
text
have to be
Sunday
down
morning.
at the dance,
Or you get text Sunday morning and somebody's mad because, a lot of noise outside last night, like, I don't wanna call the sheriff's office, but,
Right.
it's no different than somebody complains to you, their neighbor's dog barking all the time. So
Right.
sometimes these things just come to your attention different ways.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't mean to take us down a whole rabbit hole there, but I just wanted to make sure as far as we're talking about the contract, if there was any, you know what I mean, anything that we needed to consider relative to that. So, yeah.
So, I think there's some flexibility, and if we wanted to add more on those nights, we could. You're just gonna be paying the rate that we've agreed upon. It's reserves, you're paying the reserve
Yep.
rate.
10-4.
And we don't need a motion or anything because we're already in this agreement.
Right.
Yep. This is your
Information.
annual review, touch
That's
base,
what
Appreciate it, yeah.
answer any questions or
Thank you.
feedback on anything else, so.
Is there anything else you see, like, from your expertise perspective, like, as it relates to our?
Not really, you know, what we're seeing here is the same thing we're seeing everywhere else. You look at some of the numbers, like calls are starting to go back up. You know, the post-COVID trajectory has been this way. I think last year took maybe a bit of a plateau or a dip, but the first 6 months of this year are trending back up. So, I mean, I think overall demand on public safety is similar to the stock market in the sense there's ups and downs, the overall trajectory is up. And given your proximity to Cedar Rapids, you're in a unique position because that community affects this one. It's the nicest way I can put it. That's just very normal. No matter what's things that go on in town or some of the kind of things we deal with in the periphery, 90% of the time are somehow tied back to Cedar Rapids. It's just,
Are all these,
you know that.
all these, incidents, is that just within city limits?
Yeah, what you have
That's just.
are within the city limits.
I didn't know if Fringe was included in that.
What is?
The Fringe area.
No, we run into that a lot and we have to, you know, also kind of remind the deputies too, but also just the public is, you know, Swisher, if somebody says, well, I'm from Swisher, that's a big area.
Yeah.
But you're not paying for the calls that are out on Greencastle or
Yeah.
Seneca. I'm even trying to be mindful of that, like in our media releases when we arrest somebody for, you know, it's a difference to the community to say so-and-so was arrested for, you know, child exploitation if they're from the community or say from rural Johnson County, like the
Right.
community feels different about that. So it's an important distinction to make.
And the, Brad, you'd said earlier about the time, when it says hours over, is that saying that those are hours that were logged, but they were beyond our, like, the current contract?
Yep, that's exactly right. Yep, so that's what you get. We don't charge for it.
Yeah, gotcha, okay. And on view for my, information,
Sure. No.
learning, what is that?
So yeah, call basically are logged in 3 different ways. There's 911, it's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Phone, saying that's a routine line to the jack. Basically, then everything else that's generated is on your, or deputy initiated. So everything from traffic stops, business checks, getting flagged down by somebody, any of the other activity they initiated on their own, we still just call it on view.
Thank you.
The other thing I'll add, just so you kind of know what you're seeing, so at the tail end of this, like the very last, just flip to the very last page of it. You know, there's 2 main numbers we track when we're talking about activity in town. One is the calls for service number. That's just every activity that is created, whether it's phone 911 or on view, gets a call for service number. So the total number of calls, we track that. Anytime there's like a report made or taken about specific like criminal activity or some sort of investigation, then that call for service number is assigned a separate incident number or what's called an ICR number. And so like if you go to this the very back page, for example, that's the first 6 months of this fiscal year. It says there's up at the top on the far right side, it says the number's 9. It's the total number of incident reports created. That's 9 times we've taken, you know, some sort of call triggered an incident report number that had like a victim and a suspect, report of a crime, or could be a death or something like that. Then down at the bottom at number 12, that's the total number of criminal offenses that were reported or investigated. Those 2 numbers will never line up. The reason is a lot of times one incident report can have multiple crimes that fall under it. Perfect example would be if we stop somebody after this meeting and then we arrest them for drunk driving, that's an incident report number, and there's that one offense. But let's say they have their 8-year-old kid in the seat next to them. Now they're gonna charge child endangerment, so there's that second offense. So 1 incident report number, 2 criminal charges. So that's why you see those 2 numbers and yeah, they don't line up.
Okay.
The only thing I would just pass on as a general thing is just maybe your awareness to the public, speaking of crime, is scams. So people still get really hard with these and taken for tens of thousands of dollars. So just in general, keep an eye on like your own business, first of all, because this happened to the city. Anything you or the city can do to stop or reduce the number of checks you're writing, I highly recommend it. Checks and stolen checks are still targeted a lot. The phishing and scam emails are pretty constant, but then just for the public too, especially seniors, they get targeted the most from any of these scams. And we, for some reason, I would say we have a higher amount up here in the Swisher community, that report and have been hit for tens of thousands of dollars. So everything from somebody calling and saying they are Amazon customer service to FDIC to you name it. It is constant. So just as you're out and about, keep an eye on people, your friends, your family, your parents. It is all the time. And I'd say the two big red flags are anytime that person on the other end of the phone starts talking about or wants some sort of movement of cash or like Bitcoin. I've even added gift cards in there too, but the biggest red flag is anytime there's some discussion about the movement of cash to rectify the problem. Because then 90% of the time they have to go to the bank and get that large sum of cash.
Yeah.
But we see people going in multiple bank locations for $10,000 and then trying to FedEx it somewhere. So just in general, have some awareness and talk to everybody about it, but just
Thank you.
it's a lot on your shoulders too, but
Well,
these things are coming at the cities all the time.
our auditor, so before I worked here, I worked in IT and I, helped do like the phishing plans and stuff and all of that. So I have like a hyper awareness of it. But we've run into a couple issues, with clicking on links from emails.
Yeah.
Not myself, but other people in the office. And, but it's funny because our auditor had the opposite. She said, always write a check, never use ACH.
Check's a
so
terrible idea. I can't.
We do
worst advice.
99% of everything we do is a check. And because it requires signatures or 2 signatures, and ACH, you can just, it's a click of a
The
button.
problem with checks is once you relinquish that check from your custody, now it is out there in the world for somebody else. And if all they have is that account number and the routing number, they will clean you out. We see a lot of checks that are either stolen in the mail or be surprised how often the choke point for the problem seems to be somewhere in the post office itself. They get stolen out of mailboxes. You're handing it over to the carrier, but, or on the delivery side, people see these things and it doesn't got lost in the mail. But checks are, I would say the biggest thing you can do to start reducing your risk is find ways to stop writing checks and do more automatic payments. Banks have positive pay also to protect your checks. Because banks are taking a pretty hard position too anymore on, listen, if you get hit for check fraud and you haven't taken the service we're providing to protect it, there's nothing we can do for you. And you're out your money.
I could look into our bank to see if they have bank pay instead of us doing the checks,
Sure,
like bill pay.
absolutely.
Never thought of that. Okay. I'll look into that.
Otherwise, I think
Yeah,
great.
appreciate you sharing that.
The only thing I would pass along, in case you're not watching the news, just pay attention. The county's looking to have a bond referendum for a new jail in November. We'll start kind of the public campaign side of that sometime in the spring where we're actually having public meetings and a website and all these things. We've been talking about this for 2 years and really the need behind it. I hope here in the next month or two, we have not only the location finalized and able to talk about publicly, but then also what's that final dollar amount going to be for a new facility? Our space study estimated about $80 million. I'm guessing it's going to be more than that, just contingencies and land acquisition and all those other things. But just know that 80 million is a starting point.
Do you have a site located ready for this?
I have.
We could do the existing sheriff department downtown there.
So the long-term plan, we would sell that property. The county also owns 3 lots across the street. Ultimately, the county would look to offload those. And hopefully some of that would offset whether it's the land cost or some of the other things that go along with it. We're having some discussions with a property owner right now about purchasing property for a new site, but since, as you know, if you're talking about buying private property, it's confidential, so we're working our way through that right now. And then, yeah, it'd be on the ballot in November of this year, so it'd be on the midterm election.
Cool.
So, yeah.
We'll keep us connected to that. So for the fraud, does the sheriff's, department, do y'all put out any public awareness information, electronically? How do we get that? So we can share it out with our,
We can, I mean, from time to time, when the scams hit, we might put something out,
Okay.
as a reminder. We're not gonna call you and say you missed jury duty, or, I mean, these things hit pretty regularly.
okay,
There's lots of different awareness. We've came up and met with the bank before and sat down and talked with them about just better connection. And then actually, I mean, those types of meetings pay off. I remember an instance where a customer actually came in, she was getting scammed, and they reached out to one of my detectives. We were able to intercept the money at the UPS or FedEx store in Cedar Rapids. But yeah, the big thing is just talking about listening, and if you hear any of those things, just challenging it. It's an uncomfortable conversation to have with somebody who's getting scammed, because a lot of times they can be so kind of drawn into it, they don't want to believe that they're getting ripped off, but it happens.
I worked in the bank for 42 years and we came across that. Just like you said, an elderly lady come in, and in that case she got a call from her grandson.
That's right. In
And,
jail.
yep.
Yep.
And she needed 7,000 cash. Well,
Yeah.
we talked to the girls at the counter to look for something. So she came in my office and explained, I says, it was unusual for her, she was good for it, but she was not her normal activity.
That's right.
Tried talking to her and she got upset with us. She was gonna close her account out.
That's right.
But, so could do nothing but give her the money, and she lost it.
And that's what happens. People are so, they're so it's taken in, and they are so consumed by the fear. It overrides common sense.
I got a call after I retired from the bank, called one if I was wiring $4,000 to New York City. I said, what for? And he says, for a housewarming party. The girl says, I know you better than that, Daryl.
Yeah.
I said,
Well, the biggest kind of caution is, this was 2 or 3 years ago, and maybe I've talked about, you heard about it, was in Dubuque County, and an ARPA payment that was supposed to go to Dyersville. And because as the county is like the fiscal agent, moved the ARPA money through, they're supposed to send it to Dyersville. The county gets an email saying, hey, you just send it here instead. County's like, okay. 6 months later, Dyersville contacts the county, where's our money? So what are you talking about? We sent it to you already. No, they got scammed. It was a very good professional looking, phishing or social engineering or whatever email. And that $600,000 vanished.
wow.
Yeah. So, and now there's litigation, they target cities too. So be very, very
there's
careful.
billions.
Remember, I need those gift cards, Daryl.
That's right.
Yeah, they get text messages saying they're from the mayor all the time.
I've had fun playing with that guy on the phone.
I
Yeah.
didn't believe you.
I know.
I did not.
I had a lot of fun with him.
If you ever want to know what $70,000 in gift cards looks like, we can show you. Because that happened to one person.
Oh
my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, people get
That's
cleaned out. So yeah, anyway, just for general awareness, that's still a
Yeah.
big problem. Otherwise, as always, if you need anything individually or just through the city, get ahold of me, shoot me an email anytime. And this will be on the agenda in March, you said?
Sometime.
I think we
Yeah.
pushed it into March, right?
I think it's the
Posted.
first meeting in March, yeah.
Keep me posted. And if in between then and now, mayor or whoever you want to assign, we want to have a separate conversation. I know there's just some discussion ongoing about Dansmore. Contact me, get a hold of the owner, and we can line up a time for
Cool.
a group of us to get together and talk offline outside of a meeting. And
Yeah.
so get a hold of her or whoever and let me know.
Okay,
That
sounds
might be a
good.
good idea.
Yeah.
To do that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes,
Thanks, guys.
they're on right now too, so, they can hear all that, so.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to touch base with her and shoot me an email, we'll figure it out.
Sounds great. Much appreciated.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good week.
Have a good night.
You
Yeah.
too.
So do we need to, anything on the Oak Avenue? Okay.
We may not need motions or anything on any of these. Okay, so this is just an update on Oak Avenue. Just letting you know that it's still in the works. Their insurance has it. They have our insurance contact information. The person working on it emailed me last week and said she was on vacation and was working on it last week, and I haven't gotten an update since. But they have everything that they need. So I just wanted to make sure you knew what hadn't dropped off, but they haven't determined fault yet either, so.
Did they have like a time frame on?
No.
Okay.
No, she just said that, sorry for the delay, but she had just gotten back into the office, after the holidays and she, was working on it, so.
Okay. Awesome. Excellent. Thank you. So next item for discussion is, implementing the clothing allowance policy.
Yeah,
It's like I know we talked about
so
budget.
we actually don't have a clothing allowance policy.
So this, okay.
Period. We don't have a resolution. We apparently did this at some point and just kept doing it. We don't have anything in our personnel policy for clothing aside from you have to wear clean and appropriate clothes. So the three things that you have in front of you are, a resolution that can be, if you want to change anything on it, a policy to be adopted by resolution for clothing, and it's that the city will provide it because that's what we discussed at the budget meeting. And we do have budget left over, a couple $100 if we did want to get Preston clothes at the city's expense. And this wouldn't go in effect really until, I mean, right away, yes, for Preston, but July 1st because Justin's expense has already been used for the year, so he wouldn't get anything unless we wanted to provide high vis just for safety purposes, but
This particular.
this is just to
is
review
to
these.
review the
And
policy.
then I'll bring the
Okay.
resolution back at the next meeting, if you guys wanna make any changes or add dollar amounts in, which we can talk about at the budget meeting tomorrow night too. Or it can stay, the same at the 400, and 400. But I feel like if we're providing it, it might be better to do like so many shirts, a jacket, things like that, rather than a dollar amount, so.
Divided allowance amount.
Yeah, and I just left that out. And I can do more research too on, what the costs are to get that stuff. I mean, you can get it locally at like Menards. You can also get it from, there's a minimum, but we can get it from Ironside Apparel. I think the minimum's like $300 from there, so you'd want to do like one order for like the whole year. Or there's other companies online, they're not local, but they are a lot cheaper. So, and they have the actual city logo on them.
Do we currently get the city logo on?
Just
Apparel.
All it says is the city of Swisher. We do have a logo.
Okay.
So like I purchased myself like a jacket, a polo and, a sweatshirt, and I did get the city logo on them. I think the jacket I only paid like $25 for, and that was with free shipping and everything. So it can get done cheaper online, but if we want to use someone local, it's gonna be a little bit more expensive with minimums.
That'd be the cheapest options.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna get ruined, public works, like they're gonna get dirty, they're gonna get torn. And that other form that you have there is just a tracking sheet, so I can track like what's been given out, what comes back, so people aren't just running around with city apparel on after they leave, stuff like that. So if you wanna change any of that, just let me know, I can change it.
I really think we should go to a high vis though, just for a safety standard, like if Justin or Preston or I'm standing on the side of the road and they got a gray City of Swisher sweatshirt.
Yeah, and in here, in here it does say, that it needs to be, like all the safety, you need to wear your safety
yellow
gear.
or safety orange.
Yeah,
So the plan here is to take this back, review it, and then it'll be on the next agenda.
so any
to think about.
changes,
Okay.
any changes you want made, otherwise this is what you'd be getting at the next agenda. But adding like how many shirts you want them to have, if you want them to have a jacket, so much money for boots or whatever you wanna do for that, is what I really would need to know.
think, cause like ideally, you'd nice to be able to place an order like July 1st, but you also don't know employment wise, it doesn't make sense to get someone everything and then they
Right.
quit 6 months later.
Right.
Yeah.
The hard
And we can add in
part
there.
I'm having with it too is like, putting a dollar figure on shirts, hats. I
Well, we
would
could just put an amount. We wouldn't put,
Cause costs go up. you
Yeah.
know?
which you allot for at every budget. So like this budget, we already know we have so much allotted for clothing. The next budget, if prices have gone up, like I just need to do a little bit more research for that. But I can have prices for these right now, like for tomorrow for our budget meeting. So if we pick that we wanted to have 6 shirts and a jacket, I can have pricing by like tomorrow. It's so easy to get that stuff anymore online.
That's kind of like what I would like to have an idea of, because for the items all that are listed here, depending on what,
We already
How many
provide
of each?
some of it.
right,
We have already provide goggles and PPE we provide already, so.
Just to your point, it might make sense to have like a guideline of, so like
Right,
you're not
like-
buying all hats or all,
Right.
like you gotta have like a high vis jacket. and
Yeah,
that's
that's
like-
what I-
we're saying, like, we're
Would like-
saying you get 3 shirts.
Yeah,
2
Mm-hmm.
jackets, the bibs or whatever,
Pair of boots, yeah.
and stuff, but it all comes out, accumulates to be in this amount
Mhm.
per person.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to set a limit on too, like if you're gonna do boot allowance, you can't say one pair of boots a year and somebody buys a
Right.
$70 pair of boots and somebody buys a
Yeah.
$220 pair of boots.
That's why I think you do put a.
Yeah, a dollar amount, like $100
Like,
for
I
a
guess
pair
our
of
boot
boots.
allowance is like, we get $125.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's
Or if they
reimbursed,
go
you have to
over, then
provide a
you pay-
receipt.
You pay for that or whatever. And then another thing to think about with the boots, I don't know if it's a real big deal, do they need to be steel toe?
Probably be safety toe minimum, maybe not steel
Safety
toe.
toe, like composite.
Yeah,
Safety
whatever,
toe.
yeah, safety toe,
Yes.
yeah.
I don't know if we have that anywhere, but yeah.
I don't think-
Yeah, that's stuff that I can
From us.
definitely add.
Yeah.
So on this site where I ordered my things from, they have long sleeve shirts. They're embroidered and shipped for $34 a piece, long sleeve. Vests are 20, t-shirts are 30,
And those are like the class 2,
and
like high vis.
yeah, they're high vis. They have the high vis across, and then let's see if they have a jacket. Like, it's just so easy to get these prices anymore online that,
Do we have any
I don't,
custom apparel? Businesses like around the area or in the area?
Ironside.
Inside.
Cedar
Just a lot of
Rapids,
expensive
on
on that.
3rd Street.
And do they do like custom printing and stuff as well? Okay.
yeah, we have Ironside. That's where Justin has usually gotten his
Got it.
stuff before. But yeah, they have a minimum, which I can get pricing, like if we do a bulk order. We don't always have to use the same place. We can use a different place for jacket. There's no high vis jacket on here. But you could always get like a jacket and then they have to wear a vest over it. So it's just how many shirts, what all you would like them to have and how many, and then I can make those changes.
And the current, say we don't have like a formal, but the current budget what is it?
So this year it was 400 for Justin and 400 for Dylan. Dylan, it has not been here this year, so his budget has not been expended. So like for Preston, if we want him to wear high vis shirts or get him a jacket or anything like that, we do have that budget to do that.
So
But
right,
Justin's
so
has
right
been
now,
this
he
year.
doesn't have any.
No, he doesn't have, as part-time, wasn't allotted that, but there's no, like I said, there's no policy either way, so
Okay.
we can decide what we wanna do, and it could start, as a resolution, I could have it at the next meeting to start right away.
Like, if we say Justin gets 6 shirts a year, t-shirts, and then so many, I mean, a part-time obviously doesn't need 6 as well.
Mhm.
So it would be half of it or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, let's get a resolution for him. The next meeting, and
It's gonna be a resolution for the whole policy.
yeah, it'll be the whole policy.
Whether
No,
it's
but
full-time
I'm
or
just
part-time,
saying-
it'll just come down to like full-time gets
Yeah,
6,
full-time
part-time
gets
gets
this.
3, or however we wanna do it.
But what I'm thinking is so he can get those items.
Oh, yeah. You know, like a separate resolution.
Mhm.
This will be a resolution passing an ordinance.
It'll just be per the policy, so it's not an ordinance.
Yeah, and then we'll have a resolution to actually make purchase.
Yes. So how many shirts for full-time? High vis,
Yeah, 6 months.
6 for full-time
Are you talking 6 total?
for the year?
Okay, I didn't know if you were talking
For the year?
3 long sleeve and 6
Mhm.
short sleeve, you know?
And if they get, I have it in there that if they get damaged, like, they can bring it in and say, hey, like, this happened, and then I have it that either I or the mayor, can make that decision to buy a new one, because it's a pretty minimal expense.
Stuff's gonna happen, it's gonna get
Yeah.
ripped, it's gonna,
But this is for a yearly thing though too, right? So like
Yeah.
every year they'll get 6
Mhm.
shirts.
Every year.
Right. So yeah, it shouldn't really.
Yeah, and I'd say the part-time gets half of that.
should be 6. And I would probably, we'd probably need to do like. The problem is the budget's always gonna go into effect in July.
You need some for, like, Kurt said, about summertime, you want.
That's what I'm saying. The problem is-
For winter.
Now we're doing it, and I guess we could still do it because they'd have last year's at the start of summer. So I
Yeah.
think it's 6 short sleeve, you do it, order in the July 1st, and then we do another fall order with a heavier jacket, long sleeve shirts, and then they get a boot allowance.
You think like 2 long sleeve shirts?
I'd probably give them 6.
You think 6?
I mean, because in the winter, they're gonna wear long sleeve every day.
I feel like they'll wear a jacket though. So then you'd want a vest or over a jacket.
Yeah, so you.
But I'm sure I can find a high vis jacket, honestly,
I think
like,
they should, yeah, have at least like one high vis.
like a high vis jacket, 6
So that.
high vis t-shirts.
Yeah, putting the vest over
I
it.
still want a long sleeve shirt in winter time.
Yeah.
It's still wear long sleeve.
No, no,
Maybe 5 long sleeve, I don't know.
Yeah, something like that.
Do we wanna take that away and then bring that back as part of the, like, we do the motion to instill the policy, or what do you guys, we just wanna do it now?
But we can't do it now because I don't have the resolution.
Right, I just meant like go through like the details of it.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
you know what I mean.
so I do have to have the details to be able to put it into a resolution and adopt it, so.
That's kind of what we're.
Well,
discussing.
we wanna know what the price is ahead of time though, or what we ballpark it, like say,
Well, that's what I think.
I mean, like if we're, okay.
I think we put that in and then we budget for it.
Yeah, if she
Because
gets,
like, we're all
Yeah.
agreeing that this needs to happen, we need to be high vis. Yes, it's our
Yeah.
duty to sit there and supply.
I just didn't know if we needed like a number to budget for, you know, like say we're gonna budget for 1,000 now, you know, or whatever.
Our budget's definitely gonna go up on it, but now we're asking our employees to wear.
They have to be
city
wearing it.
shirts. Now,
Right.
right,
So
so
we're
once
changing.
she gets the listing and what each item's cost, and we get a ballpark figure on what it would cost to outfit.
Yeah.
One person,
Mhm.
then that's where we set the price. You know, that this is the amount that's given
That's what
there.
we budget for.
Well, I mean, we already have $400 a year.
800 essentially. We did, with Dylan.
Oh, yeah, I'm just.
Yeah,
per person.
$800 per
Taking per
year.
person.
I mean, it's gonna go up, it's probably gonna be over 1,500.
Well,
especially
that's-
given
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying, you know, it's the way prices keep going up on everything.
yeah,
you
that
know,
looks like it's just.
That's why I don't think you set a dollar amount, you set a item.
Well, for
Well,
the
the boots you
budget,
need to.
for the
Yeah,
budget.
boots, we can always,
Yeah,
It looks
in
like,
10 years, if boot prices go up,
that much, yes, we can make an amendment.
Yeah, which we probably have to, if it gets.
it looks like per person, if they were 2 full-time people, it'd be about $5.50 a piece. You can get high vis jackets. But they won't have the city of Swisher on them, but there'll be a high vis jacket and then
it's fine.
the logoed shirts and it'd be around $5.50.
So there's 11.
So, or that's with boots too.
That's also
So
the,
$4.50 for clothing, $100 for boots equals $5.50 for a full-time employee.
I wouldn't set it in the resolution like a valuation of.
No,
say this
just
is the
for our
amounts
budgeting,
of
though.
Items they get.
Yeah,
What kind of shoe you get for $100 anymore?
If they're getting $100 boot credit. I
yeah,
think it probably should be higher, honestly.
yeah, cause right now they can,
25.
whatever.
They're not gonna be
90 to
200.
yeah, so like I'd set your boot allowance at like 135 or something,
It's,
something like that, or 150 or whatever.
Our work is at 150.
Yeah.
That's why I think.
I
That's
think
for 2
that's
years.
150.
Oh, see, ours is Ours right now is 135 a year.
And there's a 150 for 2 years.
I think my husband's is 200 at International Paper.
I think 150 is a good amount for me.
Right.
Okay,
Right, if they happen to decide they want a $170 boot, then they're gonna have to pay $20.
that is one
You know,
thing, since it's a
that's what
dollar
we have to
amount,
do,
I'll have to
right.
put that into the policy and the resolution, so 150
Like a
for boots.
max, yeah.
Cause that'll be a reimbursement, they'll have to provide a receipt to get reimbursed.
Well, we'll have to word it like up to a certain amount, right? So then we're not like back paying.
A maximum amount,
Yeah, if they buy $100 boots, we don't own 50
Yeah.
times, right?
And the same token, like if all of a sudden their boots last 2 years, we're not giving them $150 the second year just because
yes,
it's in there.
Yeah.
So they'd be smart to go get a pair of boots every year.
yeah.
You know, that's how we work it, or that's how.
For part-time, how many t-shirts?
Half.
Just
3? And still a jacket?
Yep.
And long sleeves, you have 5 for full-time, so
Go 3.
So they get 2.5 shirts.
cut it in half.
Cut the sleeve off.
Yeah. That's 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I will have that, those updates and that resolution ready for the next meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
And then it's 7:41.
7:41. Yep. Thanks, guys.
You.
Have a good evening.